Hello and welcome back to Hearthstone. My name's Lumin and right now it is time to vote. I need your input. I need a lot of you to tell me which should be the final class that I add to the trio of destruction that I'm taking with me into the Polaris Hearthstone tournament. So here we go. Currently I've got the Rogue and I've got the Priest. The decks that I'm using for said classes don't really matter all that much because they are subject to change. I could potentially modify them greatly before the tournament comes along, but those are the classes that I want to play, and the final two choices that I'm presenting to you right now are the Druid and the Hunter. I've set up some example decks. I guess these are just examples of what I'd like to play with these two classes, so I'm going to show you what the decks look like. I'm not going to play games with them. I'll just give you a brief overview of the deck, tell you how I feel it's going to play, and then leave it in your hands. Because I'm super keen for both of these, and I think that both Druid and Hunter would complement the two that I've got already quite nicely. So, for Team Druid, we have a variation of the slow roll deck. I think it's called a slow roll deck. I don't know who set it up. I don't know where it really even came from. I just saw a deck list somewhere that was kind of incomplete and I've made it my own. I don't have all the cards that are necessary for making this really work, but this is the current iteration that I've got set up and it seems decent enough. Now if I do end up choosing Druid, then I might have to open a couple more card packs. Woe be me, because I would really love to add something like the Tinkmaster to this, or maybe Sylvanas, I don't know, but this deck basically just gets by in the early game. It gets by removing the threats that are presented to it, and then when it gets to the late game, it just has a whole lot of really big stuff to throw out. Now, I have played it a little bit in casual mode, and it seems like it does work. There's enough removal and early game nonsense in it for it to be able to survive with Swipe and Starfall, and then things like Keeper of the Grove. Also Wrath. It definitely has enough staying power for the early game to get to the late game, and once it gets to the late game, there's a whole lot of big stuff in the form of Druid of the Claw, Faceless Manipulator, which could be pretty much anything. I've had 2 Ysera's out, and that was a real joke. My hand filled up way too quickly. Like, way too quickly. Argent Commanders, Cairn Bloodhoof, the Black Knight, the 2 Ancients. I don't actually have 2 Ancients of Law or 2 Ancients of War. I've got 1 of each at the moment. So that's also something I still need. And there's obviously Ragnaros and Ysera. So this is more a late game deck. It just tries to survive early game and then beat down on the opponent in the late game with a whole lot of really big stuff. It's decent. It's actually really, really decent. Innovate is also amazing because I've had a game already where I had double Innovate plus a coin and I got Ysera out on like turn 4 or something. That was so funny. And then it was actually against a Paladin who had nothing to do about it, but whatever. That's the Druid deck. That's kind of what I want to do with it. Now, I did have to make a couple of modifications. Like I said, they recommend putting more of the Ancients in there, so 2 of those and 2 of those, but I can't currently afford more of them. And they also recommend tossing Tinkmaster Overspark in there. I want Tinkmaster Overspark really soon. He could be a lot of fun in a whole lot of decks. Nat Pagal was in one variation of it. Sylvanas was in pretty much all the different variations of it. And Hogger is also a possibility. So it's very legendary heavy, very high budget. So I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Maybe without those extra cards, I won't be able to use it effectively. So if I don't buy card packs, and I don't really want to buy card packs, I don't feel I should be spending more money on the game just yet, but if I don't, maybe it won't work. Maybe then the hunter deck would be a better idea. So the hunter deck is very different. The hunter deck is very aggressive, and it's very control/removal orientated. So you'll see there are hunter's marks in here, which synergize nicely with a whole lot of the other stuff in here, like the wild pyromancers, the explosive traps, the explosive shot, I guess, and a couple of the others. And obviously, if you change something's health to 1, you can obviously also kill it with a lower HP mobs. Then, I mean, for removal, there's just so much. Explosive traps, freezing traps, doomsayers, and these things are so funny. I love them as just like punching bags, because if you're playing against something like a Murloc deck or whatever, and you just need to not bump your pop filter, and you just need to delay the game a little bit, so you want to just draw the fire, then you put that out, they are all going to attack this dude. And 7 health is a lot, so it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. Then there's the Wild Pyromancer, which you guys already know. I love it. It works incredibly well. Tracking I put in there because I didn't have Tinkmaster Overspark, which was recommended for this deck. So I threw Tracking in there. Then there was also one more card that I didn't have. Oh, Gladiator's Longbow. Somehow I don't have Gladiator's Longbow. Don't even ask me how that's possible. But I have not yet created a Gladiator's Longbow, so if I want to get that, I'm going to have to try and find myself some more dust somewhere, or just use the dust that I've got, because I think it costs exactly 400. Am I? Oh, I'm such a newbie. Wow. Okay, never mind. I can get that right the heck now. Then, for other removal, we've got the Eaglehorn Bow, which I see as removal, and it works incredibly well if you keep charging it up. But for the most part, I've been using Eaglehorn Bow as just direct to your face damage. It works really well because it keeps getting those charges. You keep consistent damage on your opponent. I mean, if you can attack with Eaglehorn every turn and then throw a steady shot in there as well, then that just ends up being 5 damage every turn that your opponent can't do much about if they don't have Taunt. And if they do have Taunt, there's the Black Knight. There's also Deadly Shot. Leroy Jenkins. Explosive Shot, which is such ridiculous removal. The Abomination, which just adds to the AoE aspect of the deck. I mean, there's Abomination, Doomsayer, Explosive Trap, Wild Pyromancer. It's ridiculous. And Wild Pyromancer combined with Leroy Jenkins is great. Then there are the Argent Commanders and the Black Knight. I added 1 extra Argent Commander and the Track-In to fill up the 2 spaces that were missing. The Gladiator's Longbow space and the Tinkmaster space. But there are some modifications that I personally wouldn't mind making to this. I mean, I like Tracking in there because it just makes sense. Having that cheap spell in there to try and help you mill through your deck, find the cards you want, it's good. It's really good. Flare has been working really well as well, because secrets are all the rage at the moment, and removing stealth is kinda useful as well. But that's it. I wouldn't mind adding, like I said, the Tinkmaster to this. That Gladiator's Longbow would work really well in here. And I guess I could just be a little bit creative, toss a few other cards in there too. But this one has also been pretty successful for me, so I think either of them would be a lot of fun. It's basically a more aggressive early game harsh deck versus a slow rolling kind of late game deck. By slow rolling, I mean it takes time for it to get up and running, so there is a little bit more risk involved, I feel, in the Druid deck, just because you don't have that many answers right away. But that's it. I'm going to both leave a straw poll link below and just ask you to leave the word Druid or Hunter in a comment below. That's it. In the comment section, you can type a whole paragraph. Doesn't matter, as long as the word Hunter or Druid is in there. As long as you cast your vote like that, that's all I need. So you don't even need to open the straw poll link if you don't want to. But you can. You can, because that'll allow you to vote and also see what other people think immediately. Even if there's only 10 votes and 3 of them are for the one and 7 for the other, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to decide which one I want to use. Currently, I don't really feel like I'm leaning towards either. You know, I like the fact that there are lots of legendaries in the Druid deck, but I love the aggression of the Hunter deck. They both have definite and quite apparent advantages to them. It's also kind of cool playing Hunter because it's slightly less played at the moment, and maybe the Hunter deck would work well against the Druid decks out there, but then again, at the same time, the Druid deck would also work well against the Druid decks out there. Whatever. You know what? Whatever. If you wanted to see the decks that I'm currently running again, this is the Rogue deck. It's really good. I love it. The curve is, wow, so smooth. Smooth as butter. And this is the Priest deck. Priest deck is just, it's imbalanced. Putting that out there, it's kind of imbalanced. Again though, neither of these is complete, and we're going to have another video going up at some point where we're all going to discuss what's going on with the final decks. Now the reason I'm doing this voting thing right now is because I want to jump into ranked play really soon, because it has in fact just reset. As you can see, I don't know why I have 1 star, because I have not played as of yet. Maybe they gave me a free star. But there you go. That's it. Leave those comments below. Let me know which of the 2 classes you prefer to see. Would you want to see the underdog Hunter try and tear it up in the tournament? Or do you want to see the popular Druid make, well, an impact with those really big hitters? Let me know. Happy that.